Hey, from New Jersey, it's the SNL Nerds, the show where two comics from New Jersey nerd out about Saturday Night Live. I'm your co-host, Darren Patterson.
And I'm your co-host, John Trumbull.
How you doing, John Trumbull? How's it going?
I'm doing great. I'm excited about the show. We've got a very special guest with us today.
Yeah, we do.
We've got comedian and writer Mike Lawrence. You know him from Roast Battle. You know him, he's written for Upload on Amazon. He's written for the last season of Inside Amy Schumer. And he's also written some special Weekend Update segments with Pete Davidson for a little show called Saturday Night Live.
Oh, I've heard of that show. I heard good things about it.
Yeah, we should check that out sometime. So welcome, Mike.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, so thanks for joining us today. And we're gonna ask you a little about your comedy career, your writing career. What's like writing with Pete Davidson for Weekend Update?
Yeah.
And
your origin story, if it were.
Yes, yes, your SNL nerd origin story. Like, how did you become an SNL nerd?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's always like the age that you are. I'm 38, so yeah, my time was very much explains why. I loved Beverly Hills Ninja growing up, but was the Hartman, Farley, those guys. Kevin Nealon was my Weekend Update dude.
You missed the Dennis Miller era.
I narrowly did, and retroactively okay with that. I will say I grew up watching his HBO show with my dad, and we didn't even need to watch the whole show, just that last 10 minutes. I think it was called The Big Picture, where they would just show pictures and he would riff on them. I mean, obviously they were pre-written, but they seemed like riffs when I was a kid. I love that.
Yeah.
But I always loved Nealon because Nealon came off out of, I think, almost any of them as an actual newscaster. He just had like this kind of Tom Brokaw-ish vibe to me.
I can see that. Yeah.
I've always thought Kevin Nealon was pretty underrated, just because like his type of humor is very kind of dry, and it's like kind of very quiet. I think.
Yeah.
I forget who he said. I forget who he said who like inspired him. It might have been like Bob Newhart or something like that. But like his type of humor is very like kind of understated and quiet. It's not like big and bombastic, so you could miss all these great jokes if you're not really like into that type of zone, I feel.
Yeah, and he was really good at the being a straight man to guys like Sandler, and Guido Sarducci and stuff.
I think his big thing was the Mr. Subliminal.
Yeah.
Which I always loved, just like the way he was just able to like really quickly say like that little subliminal message and keep on going and keep on going. It's like,
really nice to meet you, Hot Sex.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the only person who kind of does it now is like Alex Moffat a little bit when he does that the guy who bought a boat character. Like that fast talk, but like slipping in things here and there real quick.
And then I liked Norm a lot, not as much, but I did. And I mean, it's funny because it's like my first exposure to all these guys was SNL, so I judged them on it. Like I wasn't the biggest Colin Quinn Update fan, but he is like a brilliant comic, and his stand-up and his specials are amazing. He just wasn't the best Update guy, but it was also because I was looking at it through the lens of, but where's this guy? And it's like when you're a kid, you don't understand contract disputes and just people leaving and people getting fired because the boss is friends with the murderer. All this.
Whoa! Allegedly.
If he did it,
right?
As his book says,
in a very small typeface,
right? Yeah, trying to keep the non-productive legal team here happy.
I mean, I'll say the amount of times that Norm called him a murderer made me think he was a murderer. I love because like it is one of those like that firing makes a lot of sense because the jokes got less subtle.
Yeah.
He's got blood on his hands.
I mean, I think the week that the verdict came through, he just opened up the Weekend Update by saying like, well, murder is now legal in California. I mean,
Damn.
you don't get much more blatant than that with like a picture of O.J. Simpson behind him. So
I mean, we definitely know who the Goldman family's favorite Weekend Update correspondent.
I like this Norm guy. But yeah, I think that's part of the charm of Norm. Why so many people love him, just because he really just does. I mean, I don't want to say he doesn't. He kind of doesn't care. He'll just say whatever, and he's sort of that little element of danger that SNL kind of needs throughout the show. Like a lot of people like the fact that he just out and out said, "Yeah, this guy's a murderer," and like he was, it's he just put it out there.
Yeah, I watched this like clip of him with Seinfeld, and it was like the most Norm joke. I think it was on Comedians in Cars, where he's like, Patton Oswalt said that the thing that hurt the most about Bill Cosby was the hypocrisy, and I was like, you don't think it was the rape? And it's like you can distill Norm to that one joke if you want to.
right.
Like, have you ever seen that the ESPN was it the ESPYs where he's hosting? Oh, it's amazing.
No.
Oh my god, dude! It's like he's killing with a certain section and bombing with a lot of people, but the room was not ready for it.
Yeah, he's an acquired taste. Not a lot of people are with Norm, but those who are with him are with him.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the best talk show guests ever.
Yes. Yeah. I remember like there was a clip of him on Conan.
Oh yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Courtney Thorne-Smith, and she's promoting the Carrot Top movie Chairman of the Board. And Norm just goes, "Oh, they should spell it Bored."
Yeah, and I remember that because Conan does this like full rotation chair spin.
That's great stuff. Yeah.
Oh, Norm.
So
we should watch a Norm movie next, maybe. Or
like when John asked me to pick a movie, I said Beverly Hills Ninja, and then like 2 seconds later, I was like, Dirty Work. And but then
you could have switched it to Dirty Work.
My thought was, I was like, there's no way that hasn't been picked, because that's one of those, like you said with Norm, like the people that love that, and I love that movie. I worked the first roast I did was with the writer of that movie, Frank Sebastiano, who I know was an SNL writer for a long time, and he just looks at it as a movie that didn't make a lot of money, and I was like, dude, that movie like was seminal for me.
That is a big cult movie, man. Yeah,
dude, it's so great. A part of some of it doesn't hold up. Like I watched it with my wife, and she was like, "This is kind of misogynistic," and I'm like, "Yeah, they do say the word whore a lot." And that's just Jack Warden's character. But God, is it a wonderful time capsule of late 90s comedy?
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting to watch these movies, and they are time capsules, definitely. Like the first.
I was gonna say, it's got Don Rickles and Third Eye Blind semi-charm kind of life.
And how many movies can you say that about?
Yeah.
Like the first summer hiatus after we started this podcast, we decided to go through all the SNL spin-off movies.
Yeah.
And I think that took us through like the first 13 weeks or something like that. And we watched the It's Pat movie, and like the band Ween is in that.
Yeah, you forget.
Yeah, and it's just such a time capsule of that moment in time.
Yeah, I never saw that one. I never saw the Stewart one, but it's like, it kind of, like there is kind of the test of, are you almost done with this character in 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Well, you're probably not going to like a movie.
and that is pretty much it for both of those movies. Neither one works.
I mean, and It's Pat could not have predicted how problematic it would become.
No.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was it was weird rewatching that movie like in 2019, I think it was. We watched that. So
Because it's like now you would end every Pat sketch with like, "What are you? Whatever they want to be. That's what they are."
yes, you'd get a lot more pronoun arguments and
Yeah,
things like that, and like the sketch would be much more from Pat's point of view, I think.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
yeah. So okay, well, I mean, you've also you said you've written for several roasts. You've written for several of the Comedy Central roasts, like the roast of Rob Lowe is one you worked on. What are the others?
Bruce Willis and SNL favorite Alec Baldwin.
Oh
Oh.
yes. Okay, so did you have like a writer's room for those, or are you just submitting jokes remotely? How does that work?
I
Yeah, and
was in.
how did you get those gigs too?
Um, it was funny. I submitted for Bieber. I didn't get hired for Bieber, and then I won roast battle, and they were like, "Oh, I think he's pretty good at this."
Hmm.
And so I immediately got hired for Low after that, and then I submit. I was in the room for Low, and I was one of Ann Coulter's main writers. Put that on my tombstone.
Well, there
Uh,
you go. I mean,
and
there's something for the old resume.
yeah.
Like when you say you were one of Ann Coulter's writers, do you mean you were writing her comebacks for that?
Well, that like without getting too into it, because I don't know how deep I can.
Uh-huh.
Each person is assigned like a team, kind of like
Gotcha.
the beginning of writing the roast. It's like the first, it's like a couple weeks, but the first week or two, you're like, okay, this is everyone on the dais. Let's just all write a ton of jokes. But then the job becomes more like talent producing, where you're working with the talent to come up with a monologue, and a lot of times you're just picking from the best jokes of those first few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay, you've got the Ann Coulter script, so you're working with her, you're organizing everything, you're giving her jokes to pick from, you're writing new ones. It just all depends. It's
Mm-hmm.
like the Martha Stewart team. They decide with Martha like what her tone is going to be and what the voice is going to be, and so it's a really fun job in that sense, because there's a lot of variety to it.
Right.
Um,
And folks, for those that don't know, let's go watch like Mike Lawrence's clips on YouTube with his roast battles, because like, dude, you're like one of the most sharpest knives in the shed when it comes to roast battle. Like, I still remember watching the Comedy Central roast battles you did with like Ralphie May and Sarah Tiana, and like
yeah,
my lord, that was some legendary stuff you did on that
thanks.
show. My God, I was like, damn, this dude's on fire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's funny. Like I've done other stuff, career wise, but it's like I know that's what I'm defined as. And it's okay. Like I because I love that it is a writer showcase,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's ultimately like people watch that and they're like, oh, like I got a lot of jobs because of it. Because yeah, it's all about writing skills and things like that. I mean, for the people that write their own, not everyone does, but I do.
Right? Yeah.
I wrote I wrote all my own roast jokes. I was proud of that. And but yeah, it's a fun thing. Yeah, like writing for Alec Baldwin was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like getting into that voice, like that's like I said, that's the joy of that job, is what makes every person different. And there's, you know, like I think like the opening line for like Baldwin was like, "Thank you for all of your various compliments for the past hour and a half," and
Mm-hmm.
like getting into like, okay, what can he say that nobody else can, and stuff like that, because Yeah, a lot of roasting is just picking like the best jokes, and there's like an interchangeability to it. But when you rate like stuff that only that person could say, that's the real like beauty of it all.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing about writing material for roasts is you're generating a ton of material that you can never reuse.
Yeah,
None of this stuff can go in your act, right?
no,
Yeah.
It's very they're all unique, like snowflakes.
Yes.
I also like with roast battle jokes, like how like the strategy of it too, because I mean, yeah, you like when it comes to roast battle, you could do things like attack a person's appearance, like if they're overweight or short, or they have an odd look to them. But it takes a little bit more cunning to maybe find another thing to attack the person on, and those people that put like a little bit more thought into it, where they say, "All right, everybody's going to attack this guy because he's overweight, but what else about him can I use that no one would think of?" Like
yeah, and
those type of things I appreciate.
that was the thing with Ralphie, where I was up there, and I think like he was like, "Oh, he's just gonna call me fat," and then when I mentioned his divorce, he like his eyes changed, and I was like, "Oh, wait, what? Wait, they can talk about that?" And it was that thing, like or people would talk to me about that. Like, there's a few people that think I crossed the line by even mentioning it, but it is like, dude, he's a public figure. It was on his Wikipedia. It wasn't like this secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that moment in that battle, I was like I felt it, like I hurt the way I was like, God damn, that is.
And it's it's interesting. It's like I just got diagnosed with autism, and I realized, like, thinking about my whole life being on the spectrum, it really helped with roast battle, because having like emotional disassociation, like, I don't think I could do some of those jokes if I wasn't autistic. Like, let alone writing them, but like being able to perform them in front of somebody. Because like I had to realize after a while with the roast battle world, like, oh, there's something like wrong with the fact that I'm able to just say these guiltlessly. Like, this is not right.
and you're delivering it to the person's face. You're usually just like looking straight at them. And I mean, some of these people I'm assuming and some, like Ralphie, you didn't really know, right?
Yeah, I knew him a little bit. Like, we did like a podcast together, and he was very nice to me. But it was definitely like I never, and it's a shame I never talked to him after that. I know that he was genuinely upset with the outcome of the battle, and and then he unfortunately passed, and I never got to like talk to him again. I it's a little guilt I feel. Like, I also know that I'm not responsible for his death.
Yeah.
Specifically, but
I think that's fair.
but at the same time, it sucks a little bit, because like I didn't go up there maliciously. It was it was a tournament, so
Yeah.
they're telling you who to make fun of, and it's like, and it was either going to be him or Miss Pat. And and then he won the battle with Miss Pat, so it's like I had a bunch of Miss Pat jokes, and it could have gone that way too.
Right. Yeah, and that's the other thing, is you have to write for both of your potential opponents, and then whoever loses, that material just totally goes away.
Yeah, it was one of the toughest things I've ever done, because that quick turnaround. And then like we taped the semifinals on a Friday night, and then did the finals were live on Sunday. And once you found out what the finalists were, that was 3 sets that you had to write, and one which you knew you weren't gonna do, and it was just it was a tough thing of like having to just generate that much material that quickly. But it was a fun challenge.
And is the selection of jokes just totally up to you in the moment, or do you go over it with like the show's staff ahead of time?
It's up to you. Like you send stuff. Like there's like one person that looks over it, and that's just for like censorship purposes. Where they're like, and I think based on what airs, like I think only like the worst thing. They're like, okay, you legally can't do this joke. I never, I thankfully never got that, but I think that for the most part, it was very much just, yeah, you can go out. I think, if I wanted to switch up the order in real time, I could have done that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also the way that I always try to do it. And I see this with I think a lot of the best battlers is you're trying to tell a narrative.
Right.
And I feel like your jokes are stronger if they can only be done in an exact way. Like if you look at the Ralphie roasts, I am telling the story, and my last joke is like a culmination of those first few jokes.
Gotcha.
And I could not have done that last joke first. And I think when you piece things like that, I think it helps it helps differentiate the jokes too. It's like once I know what my story is about the person, then I'm able to like focus uniquely on them.
Yeah, I definitely saw that when you were with like the first few jokes you told, told to Ralphie were like you could tell that it was like building up to a bigger joke, which was the last joke, which was a total KO. And I also saw that in the other battles you had too, like the one with Matthew Broussard or the
Yeah.
Zach Amico one at the old stand. Like you can see it, you're building towards like a bigger, more explosive joke towards the end.
Yeah, and it's and it's a tough thing to pull off sometimes because if that first joke doesn't hit, it's like it's such a stressful thing. Because like you said, like you're insulting people, so there's that. Like you're trying not to be too mean. You want to be funny first, like
Yeah.
because I've judged hundreds of roast battles, and
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean the first big mistake is mean over funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a tough thing where and especially when it's like the worst is when it's mean and it's not even like uniquely mean. It's like
Mm.
like enough like there's a roast battle circuit to the point where people will watch other people's battles and then they'll just do the same jokes,
Oh,
like the same topic areas, but it's not even
yeah.
something that they care about or are interested in.
It's just like a generic fat joke or generic bald joke or whatever.
Yeah, or they're like, oh well, everyone else has talked about okay, like this guy's brother died, and I'm gonna talk about it because everyone else he's the guy with the dead brother. But
Yeah.
it's like it's not even something that you care about or interested in, or it's because you kind of have to with roast. Like there is that part of like, okay, what is the thing that I notice? What's the thing that annoys me? And even it's like, what's the thing I like? Like what are this is like a really underrated, thing. I guess I'm giving a class without meaning to give a class, but
No, we love it. Keep going.
Yeah.
but when you think about like the stuff that one of the worst things you can do in comedy is a false premise, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you have to really uniquely look at individuals. This is with any roast joke, with any any time you're making fun of something. What are the things that I can't say because they're just not true? Like okay, like if I want to make fun of Stevie Wonder, okay, I can make fun of him for being blind, and everybody does it because he is blind. But I can't say he's untalented because he's objectively not untalented. He's extremely talented. So, like it's one of those interesting things. Like when I would, roast other comedians and all that, like you can't just call a comic not funny. Like you can for certain comics, and if you believe they're not funny, you could say they're not funny. But like, that was a thing with Ralphie where it was like I couldn't go after the act specifically. I couldn't say he was unsuccessful because he was very successful.
Right.
I couldn't say that. If I wanted to say that I didn't find him funny, and that's something I truly believed, I could say that if I'm able to sell it. But I did. It was like, there were people after that battle that tweeted me like, yeah, but he sells out theaters and no one knows who you are. And I'm like, I'm aware of that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I got the note. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I was like, why I'm aware of that? Like that's why I had to do well at this roast battle.
Right.
And he didn't.
You had more at stake. It sounded like, Ralphie was maybe going in like assuming he would win, and you were maybe a little hungrier, so it meant more to you.
Yeah, I think that he thought it would just be this fun thing, and like, I love talking trash, and I don't think he realized. And I don't, there are lots of comics. It's a generational thing too. Comics in their 40s, 50s, 60s who like stop by a roast battle or watch roast battle, and they're like, "Oh, Jesus fucking Christ!"
What are you kids doing these days? Jeez Lord.
Well, yeah, that's a part of it. Like, where they, watched, and it was a different vibe. Those Dean Martin roast and things like that. I miss that vibe in some ways, where it feels like, you're like watching Mount Olympus, where all the celebrities know each other and they're just bigger than life. And you're watching like there's one I've seen, like Orson Welles roasting Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
It's just a different thing where now it is more like booked and just, all right, we need this and let's get this and we have all these slots to fill, and I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just a different thing.
Yeah. Definitely.
Absolutely.
So, okay, well, let me ask you the question that I think everyone who's ever watched Roast Battle is dying to know. What's the wave really like?
They're really nice. They're really nice. And they're extremely all talented. Like, Willie Hunter is like the co-creator of the Carmichael Show. And a great comic and a great writer. I worked with him on the Baldwin roast. He's super funny. Jamar Neighbors is one of like the best comics I've seen in years. Like, just in terms of that style of like, I'm gonna lose you until I find you again. And he like, because those guys, if you go to the LA roast battle show, or at least, pre-pandemic, those three guys often would do stand-up before the show starts.
Okay. So they were like warming up.
Yeah, and so if I was judging, I'd be there and I'd watch them, and Jamar's sets are just like magical. I mean, I can't even quote most of what he says, but it's really funny, and his character work is amazing. We actually battled each other in San Francisco. I think somebody was like, Mike and Jamar, let's do it. And it was the most fun I ever had roasting somebody.
That is very, very cool. I didn't realize that they were stand-ups in their own right. So, I mean, did they just like form that for the roast battle show, or were they together in some capacity before that?
I mean, they were all comics, and then I think they're like, oh, let's do this. And yeah, and Jeremiah, like, he's another, like, just his character work. He's that guy. I respect him so much because he, like, he was like one of the band members on Kill Tony. He's one of like the hype guys on Comedy Jam. Like, he incorporated himself into all these different, like variety show and theme shows, as a way to promote himself and as a way to just like show how talented he is. And it really like has paid off because he's like all three of those guys are so consistent, and when you see them individually and then you see them as the wave, Like you respect them so much because you could see their comedic voices in the bits that they do.
Okay, that's a very cool answer. I'm going to have to do some more investigation on all of those guys.
And I'll say this, that I think that the way I know not everyone loved them on television. I don't think that it works as well on television.
Yeah.
Because TV is all about just give it to me now, and they're a pause in the action kind of like of the roast action, but in the room, like at the Comedy Store, I mean, they have saved countless battles. Them and Coach T, the DJ, because comedy is all about tension and release, and they are the release, and that show often has a lot of tension.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, like I imagine there are times where somebody does say something that's causes like a little bit, like you said, a little bit of tension in the room, and then they just come out and diffuse that.
Yeah, and then and it makes it more. Yeah, it's like it's fun too. That it's like, okay, these two people are saying this stuff about each other, but then you're also having like dancing, and I've seen some of the weirdest. Like one I saw was one wave sketch that I saw. There was like there was a joke. This was when I was judging, but and then one guy was an airplane that was spinning around, and he ran into another guy who then fell over another guy. So they reenacted 9/11.
Oh wow.
Wow.
And the thing is, it's like there's like an offensiveness to that, obviously, but it was so goofy in the moment, and the faces that they made. It's like I grew up, watching the Apollo and all that, and it's like I love the Sandman.
No, absolutely.
Because the Sandman was often that like release, and they remind me of that sometimes. Like when you watch like a really bad battle and two people are bombing, the wave is the only thing that's like worthwhile, and they're making it. They make it a show. It's like it's all bells and whistles, but it's like they are so needed in that moment.
Right. Yeah. So they just act as like a reminder as to like, don't take all this too seriously. No one's out here for blood. It's just jokes. We're all here for fun.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I try, like as a judge, and even as a battler, like I want to be able to talk to anyone that I judged afterwards. I want to be able to like, yeah, we're just having fun, especially like newer comics, and I understand it. It's hard not to take it personally or seriously, but it is supposed to be goofy. And when you see like, Jamar and Willie shaving Jeremiah's pubes, you're reminded of that.
Yes, pube shaving will save us all.
Yes.
I've said this time and time again.
Right. I mean, there is nothing that will take you out of a moment like pube shaving. Just sudden, unexpected pube shaving.
I'm telling you, man, if someone just showed up right now, like on the Israeli-Palestinian border, and started shaving their pubes,
world peace, right?
Yeah.
Like both sides would just be going, "What the hell is that?" Did you guys see that?
Yeah, we gotta talk to the other side and work this out. What's going on here? Why can't we be friends and play?
Yeah. So, okay. Well, we talked a little bit. We talked about the roast battles. We talked about your SNL fandom. But how did you get into writing segments for the show? You've co-written Weekend Update segments with Pete Davidson, right?
Yeah, and Dave Sears. Dave Sears is like his main writer. And Dave
friend
Sears,
of the show, friend of the podcast. We had him on.
We talked to him about King of Staten Island.
Okay, yeah, he's great. He's and so it's the three of us. And I met him through the roasting world, and I've just known Pete for a long time through stand up. But Dave is such like a funny, unique mind. and he's a guy like basically like the way that I only worked on this last year's worth of update segments, but we would just brainstorm. We would text each other back and forth, the three of us,
Mm-hmm.
and then Dave has this amazing way of organizing it all into cohesive thoughts. But we're just spitballing and throwing this thing and that thing and that thing, and it's just a lot of fun. I mean, it's people often say it, but like when your work doesn't feel like work, like that's the definition of that. It just feels like you're having fun with friends, and then and then it's on the air, and tons of people are seeing it, and it's cool.
Mm-hmm. And I guess since you were doing this over this last year, you were only working remotely, right?
Yeah. So I've never like that's the thing. It's like I am not an SNL writer. I guested on those segments, and that's awesome. Because like I really respect and appreciate the grind of those writers, and I know a lot of those writers. I would never want to give myself that name or credit, but at the same time, seeing my name even in the credits at all was such a cool thing.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
that is very cool. That is a cool thing. And well, should we get into Beverly Hills Ninja? Is there anything else we want to cover before we dive into the movie?
I don't think so. Well, I mean, did we hit on why you wanted to talk about this movie?
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Because when I asked you, I was like, you can pick any movie with an SNL alum, and as long as it's not something that we've done or promised to somebody else, it's yours. And you immediately came back with Beverly Hills Ninja, which really surprised me.
This was my 14th birthday present.
Okay.
My dad took me to see this. I know we're recording this on Father's Day. My dad growing up to a character for me and my brother. I was raised joint custody. 1 week I was at my mom's, 1 week I was at my dad's. My mom had a guy that she had recently married, so and they had a kid who was my sister, and so it was very much more like a typical family there. And then at my dad's, it was me, my brother, and my dad. And when I was like 5, 6, 7, my dad did this character called Fat Ninja.
And
where he would take his shirt and take it off and put it over his head. And it was the goofiest thing, and it was so funny to me. And then this movie came out, and it's like they did Fat Ninja the movie.
And they stole your idea.
But it was also like, we watched SNL together a lot. We loved Chris Farley. Also, I was a big fan of the first Mortal Kombat movie, and Liu motherfucking Kang is in this movie. Robin Shao.
Right. I knew him from somewhere, but I could not place him.
That's him, yeah.
Okay, all right.
And then you have Chris Rock.
Yeah.
In a very different performance than what you often get from Chris Rock.
It was not the Chris Rock performance I was expecting, and honestly, he was not in the movie as much as I was expecting.
No, he's very much like on the side. And it's interesting because I saw Tommy Boy in the theater. I saw Black Sheep, and I read somewhere this is the only truly like solo Chris Farley movie where it was like he was the star, he was advertised as the marquee player. Because like you had Almost Heroes, and that was him and Matthew Perry, who was at Friends at the time. But like this was like Farley as Farley being full Farley, and
this was like him at his height of his popularity.
And and this came in this came out the year that he died.
It was 11 months before he died.
Yeah, and I remember, me and my dad were going to go to the arcade, and we stopped at McDonald's, where I ended up working for 7.5 years, but that's a different, sadder podcast. What I'm saying is Chris Farley would have been a fan of mine too.
You know what? I actually got McDonald's for breakfast this morning.
There you go.
I didn't have anything in the refrigerator. I'm overdue to go shopping, and I didn't even think about the connection with you.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
But I remember finding out that Chris Farley passed. Like we were in the car eating McDonald's drive-through on our way to an arcade, and just like slowly like chewing Big Macs, and like it was like the only celebrity death, like not the only, but one of the only that were like I just like I started crying.
Yeah,
because he was such a part of my childhood and like a connection to my father, I think. And and my dad's still alive. I he's not dead, but I talk about him like he is sometimes, because we're just not as close as we used to be. I'm just getting older and all that, but it's also, I'm just so nostalgic and have such fond memories of growing up with him. And Farley is kind of like our guy. And so seeing this movie, like I grew up, and near where my mom lived, there was a budget theater. And so I would go to the budget theater a lot and see the $1.50 movies. This one, opening weekend, baby. This was a $7 full on. We got popcorn and soda. Like I said, this was my birthday present. We went to go see this, me and my dad, and I loved it at the time. And it's amazing because I'm able to, I watched it again for the podcast. I hadn't seen it in a few years.
Yeah.
And, my snobby 38-year-old comedy brain and whatever, like I could point out flaws and all that, and I'm sure you guys will, and I can too. But I'm able to immediately be 14 again and just love this. Like the guy that eats the ratatouille at the end of Ratatouille, like my Anton Ego moment. It immediately just makes me feel like joy watching this dumb movie.
I totally know what you mean. Like I didn't watch this movie back in the day, so I don't have the nostalgia for it that you do. I was just watching it cold for this, but I know what you mean. Like watching like the Saturday morning cartoons I grew up on, like Super Friends or Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Yeah,
which I was watching in the early '80s, and then when I was watching them again in like my late 20s after I'd been to like art school and stuff. So I'm able to like intelligently critique the animation, and it's partly a nostalgia trip and partly like, how did this entertain me as a child?
Yeah, because everything evolves. It's like,
yeah,
I was 9 years old when Batman the Animated Series aired, and I was 7 when The Simpsons came out. So I was very lucky to have like the truly greatest cartoons at the perfect time to watch them when I was so impressionable. And and it's like, and so then I didn't see Super Friends until after I'd seen every Batman episode.
So it's not going to hit you the same way, man.
No.
I mean, Super Friends is made to be watched when you're like 6.
Yeah, absolutely. But I did watch some Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I remember they reran that in like the late 80s. And so, I had that VHS of the 7 Little Superheroes episode with the chameleon. And so I can watch that one and I'm just like in heaven. I can watch any other episode and I'm like, yeah, it's fine.
I mean, the 7 Superheroes one, that's amazing just because you're getting so much bang for your superhero buck.
Exactly. Yeah, it is the best episode.
Doctor Strange, you got Shauna the She-Devil.
Yeah.
Who else was there?
Namor,
yeah.
Captain America, and then your 3. Yeah.
And then Ms. Lion, the 8th superhero.
Who saves them all, yeah.
Yeah. Spoiler.
Oh.
Spoiler for a cartoon that came out in 1983. But
yeah.
I was just about to watch.
The dog, Aunt May's dog, saves them all.
The other spoiler alert: probably half the voice actors are dead.
I think it was Paul Frees as the chameleon. So
there you go.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure he is dead.
Oh boy. Yeah. I mean, Beverly Hills Ninja. Let's talk about it. This movie came out, like we said, January 17th, 1997.
Mhm.
Written by Mark Fehlberg and Mitch Klebanoff, and directed by Dennis Dugan. And Dennis Dugan, that name sounds familiar to you. That's because he directed Problem Child and a ton of Adam Sandler movies, including
Happy
Happy.
Gilmore, Big
Uh,
Daddy. Uh,
he did. I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry.
yeah.
He did.
You don't mess with the Zohan.
Yeah, Bench Warmers and Grown Ups 1 and 2. Just Go With It, and of course the seminal Jack and Jill.
That's quite a pedigree there.
He's our generation's Kubrick. but you know what's interesting? It's like you look at like a lot of those movies, and like once you work in show business and all that, you see like if you're working with the same actor a lot or the same few actors a lot, it's like he probably is just like a really fun guy that like runs a good set. Like,
Yeah.
because you know, people can say what they want about the quality of Sandler films, but like from everything I've heard, he's like a really nice dude, and those movies are just fun to be a part of. I'm sure that Dugan helped that atmosphere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, you want to be with people you're comfortable with. I mean, it's not life's too short to be with somebody that you think is a tremendous asshole, you know?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel the same way about like Tyler Perry films, where like I'm not wild about every Tyler Perry film, but from what I've heard, by all accounts, he's a good dude. He pays his actors well. He runs a great set, so like I can't fault him for that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I guess Dugan's the same way.
So, I
Uh,
mean,
but yeah, like so when this film came out, like I remember when this film coming out in '97. Like I thought it didn't do well. I thought it kind of bombed. But like I'm looking at the numbers, this thing had a budget of 18 mil and it made 31.5 mil. So like I guess it did better than I thought it did. But like I
But
guess
that's
like
still a bomb, right? Movies have to like double their profit to even break even because
I
of
think it might be
advertising.
like 3 times what the
It's
budget
insane.
was. Like when you factor in like advertising and all that.
all right, so maybe it did. And yeah, and I just remember like the critics trashed it from what I remember. Like I'm looking
Yes.
at it now on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's at like 14%. I think that maybe that's why I thought it bombed harder than it did.
Here's a few interesting things. Looking at the poster, the tagline, which is in larger letters than the movie itself, is Kung Fu, which to me, in some ways, is a better title.
Uh-huh.
It's just in the sense that it doesn't like part of the name Beverly Hills Ninja is it makes you think of Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
And it is not that.
It is not. Like
It
part
is
of
not,
me,
but maybe they wanted to build that association with people.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
I mean, like part of me thinks they came up with the title first and then just wrote the script around that.
Yeah.
Didn't I read this movie was originally written for somebody else, wasn't it?
According to
I read this on the IMDb trivia. Like it was originally written for it says it was originally written for Dana Carvey.
Oh wow.
I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that version of that movie.
that would have been very different.
Yeah.
I mean, and let's be honest, he would have gone like full on Asian voice. He's the master of disguise.
Ooh, like that old character of his. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you could say what you want about this movie, like Farley's just Farley for the most part.
Yeah.
But I think that Carvey would have like really it would have aged worse than this one.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right there.
It would have been like Mickey Rooney and Breakfast at Tiffany's type.
Yes. Yeah. I think so. Just my guess on the time and Carvey and his skill set, as it were. He does
he would
voices.
have gone full chicken make lousy house pet.
I think, yeah. I mean, but also, Darren, you were bringing up the critics, like, because I was looking up, critic thoughts on, Farley in general, and this is all you have to say is Roger Ebert gave Tommy Boy 1 star. And
Uh-huh.
so if that's getting 1 star, well, we're all screwed for any other Farley movie. Because, I mean, you know, basically, like, Tommy Boy is comedy Shawshank. It's on all the time, and you will watch at least a commercial break of it if it's on, right? It's like,
Yeah, we did an
it,
episode of that a while ago.
I'm
Yeah, I mean,
sure, yeah.
I think at the time, yeah, critics really didn't get Farley. Like, they're just like, I don't. How is this funny? He's just a big, large, loud man crashing into walls all the time. That's the height of comedy. It's the same way like critics. I remember trashed Ace Ventura when it first came out. Like I remember, like I think even Ebert and Siskel gave it 2 thumbs down the movie, and that's like, I mean, at the time when I saw it, I thought that was like one of the most funniest movies I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and I mean, the truth is, a lot of these movies have like proven those critics wrong. Like they have become classics, you know, like Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison and all that. It's so funny. All the people that shat on those like early Sandler movies, it's like, just wait, okay? Like we're in the prime now. You should enjoy these ones.
Jack and Jill is coming, people.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, yeah, it's so interesting because it's like, you know, this goes back to the joint custody thing. My mom would read critic reviews, and I remember, like, I wanted to go see Biodome with my friends, and she's like, "You're not seeing that." And I'm like, "It's
Mhm.
PG-13." She's like, "Yeah, but it got half a star."
So she's a movie snob.
Yeah, and of course, it's like, you know, I was the age of like, I just want what entertains me, and this entertains me, and the fact that my dad, you know, would take me to these things, and my mom was like, "You shouldn't go." It's like, well, who do you think I'm going to bond with more emotionally? I'm
Fair
a
point.
14-year-old kid. Like, you know, I think my 13-year-old movie present was we went to the drive-in to see Half Baked. And I just remember my dad having to roll up the windows.
Oh, so the secondhand smoke didn't.
Yeah. And then this was the next year because I was January 14th, and yeah, you said this came out the 17th, so it's like I think we're going to Red Lobster and watching Beverly Hills Ninja. Fuck yeah.
That's right.
You know what? I just remembered my 13th birthday movie was Howard the Duck.
Wow.
The first Marvel movie. I saw Howard the Duck on my 13th birthday because it was like 1985, I think.
Holy
Or
moly.
maybe it was 86. Because I think it came out after Back to the Future. Like Leah Thompson went from Howard the Duck from Back to the Future to Howard the Duck in the space of 1 year.
Wow.
But yeah, so I'll say, you know, my positives about this movie still, like looking at it now, I do think Farley is a joy to watch on screen. Like, if there was one negative overall of this movie, it's that the humor gets repetitive. Fatty falls down a lot.
Yes.
But there's an earnestness to him. Like, I read the Chris Farley show, you know, the biography about him. And, you know, a lot of his friends talk about how those segments, you know, the Chris Farley show where he would interview, you know, was it McCartney and Jeff Daniels and stuff? Like, that's the real Farley. You know, that was awesome. Like, that earnest, like, childlike nature, like, that's on full display here, even more than in other movies. And there is a charm to it. Like, he is fun to watch.
And he does have that charisma. And like something I really noticed watching the movie is, yeah, there are a lot of jokes about Fatty falls down, but there's also moments where he's very nimble and graceful, and he does some of his own stunts in this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where his love of John Belushi comes from. Where, you know, because John Belushi had the same thing where he was a chubbier, portlier man, but he was quick on his toes. Like he had that, like, you know, Jack Black. Like they look kind of round, but then they can move.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because it's like like the whole thing with him and like Nicolette Sheridan in this movie. It's like she's like this full grown woman and he's like this boy. Like it doesn't even feel like that sexual. You know, like I
No.
think a lot of other stars where it's like, all right, I'm gonna save the girl so I can get her in the end. It's like he just wants to help. Like
Yeah. He's a
there's
bit of a man
something.
child.
Oh, absolutely. And because well, one way it's like it's funny too because this movie really is like all about how nurture means nothing. It's all about nature in a lot of
Mhm.
ways because like he's raised by these ninjas on this ninja island since birth,
Yeah.
but he still is Chris Farley. Like he still is like
He doesn't have an accent. He doesn't have, even though like he's been raised since a baby, because like he's shipwrecked on this island,
Right.
and yeah, and there's this whole prophecy that that there's going to be a great white ninja, but they never really pay that off. They say like, well, maybe he was, but we don't know.
Yeah, I thought that would be like a big thing. Then, like something like at the very end, like there'd be like this big white light on him, and some people would be like, "He is the Great White," but like Neo in the Matrix. But that never
Hmm.
really happens.
I thought it kind of did.
Yeah,
Kinda, yeah,
I thought, well, it was just like here's the action finale, and it's. I mean, the thing is that like I think a part of the problem here is you have a full comedic director and not like an action comedy director, so
yeah,
the action is kind of unspectacular. Like the main villain's henchman is built up the entire time as this like real badass, and then the way that he gets defeated is just him and another dude just kick each other.
yeah.
And
all right.
like they both do a jump kick in and our two heroes duck, and
Yeah,
that's
and they're like,
it.
and they end up like scissoring each other or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
and it's like,
their crotches slam into each other, and then that's their defeat. Yes.
and when you're watching it, there's that part of you that's like, I'm waiting for like the raid to happen. Like I'm just
Uh-huh.
waiting for like the most ultra violent because the dude's
Well,
been built up so much, and it's like, oh no, but it's a comedy.
yeah, yeah,
Right. Yeah. So for those that never seen the movie, it basically starts off like we said, where um, a baby washes up on the shore of, I believe it starts in Japan, where this island of all these super secret ninjas are. They find the baby. It's a young Chris Farley, and they raise and train the baby as their own. And but of course it's Farley, so he's big and goofy, and he hits people with sticks all the time. But he's very
right.
lovable, and he has a big heart, so people you know so people take to him like he's like the big lovable youth.
And he's got his big brother Gobe. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Gobe, who's a big brother, who's like the master ninja, who's played by Robin Shue from the Mortal Kombat movie.
Yep.
Mortal Kombat.
And he just has spectacular hair. I was just fixating on his
Oh,
hair for most of the movie.
Yeah,
his
and
hair.
a great recurring joke that he's even more than Dana Carvey, a master of disguise,
Yes.
and that he's trailing Haru the entire time, and always in disguise, and I actually think that the slapstick comedy that happens to him
Yeah.
is funnier. Like when Farley is doing something that hurts Robin Shaw, it's funnier than when Farley's hurting himself sometimes
Yeah.
because Shaw is so good at looking frustrated. It's he's
He
a great
plays
straight
exasperated
man.
well. Yeah. A visual gag I really liked was like right after Haru, Chris Farley's character, arrives in America. Like he flies in at the airport, and then we see the baggage claim, and then this black round thing tumbles out onto the baggage claim, and then it's Gobe, and he just sort of unfolds himself, and he's like, ha! And I was like, okay, you got me there.
And just imagining that like he was in the plane for like this was what Japan to Beverly Hills. How long is that? Is that 12 hours? Is that?
It has to be. I haven't looked up how long of a flight that is.
And
Let me
he's
see if I can
just
find
like,
that.
because he's so committed to being a ninja.
Yeah. And that couldn't have been a direct flight. There has to be a layover somewhere.
Let's see. It looks like that. Well, if they were coming from Tokyo, it'd be 10 hours 15 minutes. From Osaka, 13:15. From Nyoga, 16 hours. So
And from vaguely 1997 movie Japan.
Yeah. Let's say 12 hours. From some vaguely defined area we're assuming around Japan?
Oh wow, he was also in The Legend of Chun-Li as Jen. So he both in Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter movies. The Robin show.
Wow,
he does it all.
That's the dream, man. That's like doing a Marvel and a DC movie.
Yeah,
exactly. Like one of my favorite parts of this movie, I don't know why I got a kick out of me is so as the movie goes on, we see that Haru isn't, he's not as good as his brothers, but they still love him, but he just doesn't have what it takes to be a ninja. And so there's one day where all the ninjas leave the dojo to go on an assignment, and Haru's just left there by himself. And then Nicolette Sheraton, our lady of the movie, walks in and says, "Hi, I was told I could find ninjas here." I don't know why. It's like there's something about that just makes me funny. It's like, 'cause I thought ninjas were supposed to be all super secretive, and weren't supposed to be able to find them. And
apparently they're in the phone book.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that later. That phone book thing.
Is this just Ninja Island?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
and
like
there's no explanation of how she got there. She just like literally shows up at the door. She's like, "I was told there'd be ninjas here."
Yeah, it's like walking into like a secret headquarters of like a secret, top secret agency and be like, "Hi, I was told there'd be spies here. I'm looking for a spy, please."
Yeah.
Well, she was in Spy Hard, so.
Oh no. So she has a pedigree.
Yeah, this is how I knew. I know that Nicolette Sheridan was in a lot of different things, but to me, she was like in Knots Landing and stuff. But like Spy Hard, Beverly Hills Ninja, you are in the Mike Lawrence pantheon of actors.
That's the 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
Did you like watch Desperate Housewives for a while just because Nicolette Sheridan was in it?
I did not.
Ooh.
Because Leslie Nielsen and Chris Farley were not.
Well, there you go. Okay, so now we know your limits.
It would be amazing if it was the same character, like she moved to Wisteria Lane from Beverly Hills.
that would be great. And she just had this romance with Chris Farley's character in her backstory.
Yes. In the Beverly Hills Ninja universe,
yeah,
this full white but thinks it's half Asian baby.
Oh boy, yeah, this movie kind of, I don't know why, it kind of reminded me of like Kung Fu Panda a little bit too. The setup of it. I don't know if Kung Fu Panda took the idea from this movie to make it, but I don't know. I got big Kung Fu Panda vibes from it.
No, there's some of that, and then it's also like Farley was going to be Shrek, right?
Yes.
There's some of Shrek in this performance.
I can see that. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I could definitely see that. So as the movie goes on, we see that Nicolette Sheridan's character, who calls herself Sally Jones, is looking for a ninja to trail her boyfriend because he's up to no good, she feels. And then I wrote down, she went to a ninja. Wouldn't like a private eye be easier to find, or a detective? But I was like, oh, okay, I'll go with this.
What are you going to do? Beverly Hills Detective? Nobody wants to see that movie.
That's been done to death.
Like some guy running around Beverly Hills investigating crimes, and it's like cast with somebody from Saturday Night Live. That'll never be a movie.
Yeah. Good. Well, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So then Haru decides to take on the case himself. He follows her boyfriend. Turns out he's like he's dealing in he's making what's it called, counterfeit money.
Yep.
And of course, it's a deal down by the docks because there's always deals going down by the docks. There's a deal that goes wrong. The boyfriend ends up murdering somebody, shoots him, and Haru kind of gets framed for it. And the guys get away. The cops are looking for Haru, but he's able to, hide in a dumpster full of, I guess, shrimp or old seafood, and make his way back to the dojo. And then he tells his sensei, I have to go save this woman that put me on this path, and I have to go to Beverly Hills to protect her. And that's where our movie takes off. And of course, the sensei tells Gobei to follow him, discreetly.
Yes. Yeah, and he fears that Haru is being led around by his short sword, which I like the way they phrased that.
The guy who plays the dad, really great, really fun. He's great at being frustrated. He's great at being loving. Like you could, in terms of fathers, he's a great dad.
Yeah,
because he never gives up on him.
Yeah, no, he is supporting his son throughout the movie. That is definitely true. He is a very supportive dad.
Soon Tech O was the actor, and the name of his character is just Sensei.
Yeah, they never gave him a name.
Yeah, that's enough.
But what's amazing is when you look him up on Wikipedia, the picture that shows up is him as Sensei in Beverly Hills Ninja.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
All right. So then Haru lands in Beverly Hills. We hear Turning Japanese playing in the background. And
I mean, this is a movie with two different versions of kung fu fighting. So the fact there's only one version of Turning Japanese, we got lucky.
Yeah, I think I texted John Trumbull that if you're making any type of comedy, and there's some type of martial arts in that comedy, you have to have kung fu fighting in that movie. By law, the cops will come for you if you don't.
Yeah.
So we see Haru renting a car, and we quickly see he does not know how to drive a car, but he's kind of swerves on the road everywhere, and he almost hits Larry from Three's Company, who's driving by him.
That was a very random cameo. Yes, we suddenly see Richard Klein driving the other car. I want to know the story of how that happened.
It's not a random cameo if they just need the money.
Yeah, I guess if Richard Klein was hurting for money that month, I don't know.
Yeah.
I actually have a weird connection with Richard Klein. He was actually an ex-girlfriend of mine actually took an acting class with him.
Oh,
once upon a time. Yeah.
Far out. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he's Facebook friends with her. I see her. I've seen him comment on her Facebook posts occasionally, and it's there's Larry from Three's Company. That's so weird.
Time to get him on the podcast. It sounds like to me.
Yeah.
So Haru drives up to the hotel. There is this one running gag that they do that I do kind of where every time he enters the hotel, he takes off his shoes, like he would in a dojo, and then then later on we see the janitor cleaning up outside the hotel, always sweeping up his shoes, and you're who's leaving these shoes out here? I kind of dug that.
I kind of wish that there was a little more payoff to that running gag. He catches the guy taking his shoes and beats him up or something. I was expecting that a little more payoff to that than something more than just they're taking his shoes because he doesn't know he doesn't have to take them off.
I liked it. I like the subtlety of it in a movie where most of the jokes aren't. Almost every joke is a fart in your face. This was a fart in the elevator. You had to notice it.
It's SBD.
Yeah. And at the Beverly Hills hotel that he's staying at, we got Chris Rock as Joey Washington, who's a bellboy at the hotel. And Chris Rock is immediately impressed with Chris Farley's ninja skills. And Chris Farley agrees to train Joey and if he aids him in this mission. And then Chris Rock just basically disappears for the movie for a long stretch of it.
Yeah, kind of. He pops in and out. He's not like super consistent. But
Yeah.
it's good to see Chris Rock in this film. It's like, oh yeah, because I think like I mean throughout this movie, like it is a Chris Farley movie. He's like the only sort of comedic person in the whole thing. Everybody else is kind of playing it pretty straight. So to have
Yeah.
somebody else with some comedy chops for him to sort of bounce off of, I think helps with the movie a little bit too.
Yeah. I guess I wanted it to be like a bit more of a buddy movie or something. I would have liked a little more Chris Rock.
No,
And
that's fair.
especially more Chris Rock interacting with Chris Farley.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, Chris on Chris.
Yeah, I think it was like we were just not going to get like that co-starring Farley Rock movie
Yeah.
in this, but I kind of wish we did because they do have great chemistry together. And I like I said, like this was like an uncharacteristic Chris Rock performance where, you know, Farley's basically a child, but somehow the character Joey is even more childlike than Haru.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is that he's the one person that truly believes in everything and sees Haru as a legend from the beginning.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's kind of it's kind of adorable their relationship in this, and from everything I've ever read, they were really great friends in real life. I think they were office mates for a while.
They shared an office at SNL. There's a quote on the back of the Live from New York oral history book where Chris Rock is like, two dudes the same age, both named Chris, one from Bedford-Stuy and one from
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. And he was like, okay, which one's gonna OD?
Damn.
And just like him putting it that plainly, you're just like, oh yeah.
Oh boy. And I mean, according to IMDb, according to the producer Bradley Jenkel, Chris Farley demanded that Chris Rock co-star in the movie, and he said he wouldn't do the movie without him.
See, that's nice. He's got his buddies back. I like that.
Yeah, I dig it.
Yeah, it felt like they only had Chris Rock for like 3 days or whatever, but
yeah, I mean, we could have used a little bit more Rock, but the Rock that we get, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh yeah, so we see Haru trying to sort of track down Sally Jones, and we see that I think he does find her, but like he kind of stumbles into finding her. Like it's basically like Gobei kind of doing things to kind of push him into her direction. Like I've noticed that throughout the movie, where like Gobei was always hiding, but he was also kind of making sure Haru is okay and sort of navigating his way to safety and to solving the crime. I don't know what it reminded me of. You guys remember Inspector Gadget?
Sure.
It reminded me of that a little bit, where like Inspector Gadget is kind of fumbling towards solving the crime, but like Penny and the Brain are kind of helping him along the way without him knowing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that.
Yeah. So Haru finally finds Sally Jones. Sally's kind of shocked to see him. She says she doesn't need to be saved, and I think that he also tries to find her boyfriend, who's a counterfeiter, Martin Tanley.
Yeah.
Or
Tanley Martin.
Tanley Martin. Okay.
That's Martin Tanley.
Martin Tanley, right? That's what I thought.
Okay. Oh, yeah. No, that was my note about him being in the phone book. Sorry.
Oh, right. Oh. No, we'll get to that.
He's not a very memorable villain, so I was getting mixed up.
Yeah,
And the amount that you have to know about counterfeiting and plates, it was interesting. Like, it made me think of Trading Places. Like, I mean, comedy writers really thought audiences were smarter than they actually were.
Yeah.
Very much. So much about like the stock market and trading in Beverly Hills, and then this is all about we only have one side of the plates, and this and that. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, I mean, that I got. I still don't entirely understand the ending of Trading Places and what they're doing. I get that they tricked the Duke brothers into like selling high when they should be. I still can't even explain it. And we've covered that movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like I watched The Big Short and I still don't get it. Hence my poverty.
Not even when Robbie in a bathtub explains it to me do I get that. No.
Yeah.
And I knew you covered that movie, hence I picked this one.
Oh, there you go.
Nice. Okay.
You did your research, sir.
Yeah, well played, sir. Well played. So then we have the scene where Haru follows Martin into a strip club, because he's doing some big deal and something's going to go down. Of course, all the big illegal deals go down in strip clubs.
Right. But it's a PG-13 movie, so it's a PG-13 strip club where
Right. Exactly. So
no one ever actually takes off their clothes. They just sort of dance around.
And they're dancing to ZZ Top.
Yes.
But no one is ZZ Topless.
Oh! You were waiting for that one.
I wasn't. That's how my autism works.
That's just gold that came to you in the moment. I love it.
Right, and so of course there's a scene where I think Haru sees boobs for the first time, and he can't control himself, and he just like ends up dancing on stage like a wild man. Rips off his shirt, as you do.
Yeah.
While he's doing that, the Martin Taylor's going down with the deal. Behind the scenes, there's a big shootout. 2 people get killed, and Haru gets kind of framed for murder again.
That's right. So that is now 3 murders that he is being blamed for.
Yeah, and I also like how the news reporters report on it, saying, "Oh, there's this shootout that's been gone down," and people are saying it's all the fault of a ninja, and it's the same ninja that was involved in Japan months ago.
Right. Yeah, there's an Interpol bulletin out on him.
Be on the lookout for a ninja.
Right.
Yeah. So, but Haru's able to make his way back to the hotel. We see this one scene where Chris Rock is chasing a chicken around. I guess it's part of his training. And of course, we have Haru saying, "Keep practicing, Joey. Someday you will choke that chicken."
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not exactly like grabbing the pedal out of the hand in Kung Fu.
No, not quite. Not quite.
No, Darren. It sounded like you had a little bit of shame when you said that joke. Would you have felt more disappointed if they didn't make that joke?
You know what? I think you're right.
Because it's also you have to. That's the thing when you think of like movies, or TV. Like the joke on its own is just like a dumb choking chicken joke, but they had to get like an animal wildlife person on set to watch the chicken. They had to get the chicken.
Someone to mother it to make sure the chicken was never harmed.
Yeah, they had to shoot multiple takes of Chris Rock chasing it.
And maybe they didn't get all the shots they needed, so they had to have Chris Rock's double chase the chicken around for a while.
We got to get this choking chicken joke in here.
And Chris Farley's doubles are just his brothers, who are also in the movie as cops.
Yes.
Yeah.
John and Kevin.
Yes.
Yep. Or is it Doug?
I thought it was John. Is it Doug?
It says it on the IMDb trivia page. It says Kevin and John here.
Right.
Yeah.
I definitely recognize Kevin. I saw Kevin for sure.
Yeah. They appear as cops right before Chris disappears behind the cloud of smoke. So
I met Kevin once, one of the nicest dudes.
Yeah, he seems like a solid dude. I've heard nothing but good things about him. So then we keep going with the movie. I think at one point, Haru is looking to his sensei for guidance, so he does the celestial plane thing that kind of goes on throughout the movie, where he's able to send his spirit onto another plane of enlightenment, where he's able to talk to his sensei about like how to find Martin and solve this big caper, this big case he's on. And that's when his sensei was like, "Well, if you're having trouble finding the guy, why don't you look in the phone book?" And sure enough, a criminal's name and address is in the phone book.
Well, because he's like a 80s style respectable criminal that you had in say the Beverly Hills Cop movies.
Now, I love as Doctor Strange fans call it, astral projection. I love those scenes I think that's some of the better like slapstick where Farley's just floating around.
Yeah, he's like the greatest American hero up there, just flailing about.
Yeah, but then they always do this gag where when he comes back into his own body, he goes flying.
Yeah.
It's genuinely funny to me.
Yeah, just crashing through stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he doesn't have quite the hang of it yet.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
go ahead. Oh no, I was going to say. So he's able to find the house in the address rather in the phone book. He goes over there with, of course, Gobey following him. Wackiness ensues. A lot of grappling hook mishaps. Of course, attack dogs, and and we have Haru sort of crashing and falling his way into Sally Jones's room, who is actually her name. We find out her name is actually Allison Page, because she's undercover because she doesn't really love her boyfriend, but her boyfriend used to date her sister, and something
her sister Carla mysteriously died 3 months ago, so she's trying to get to the bottom of that.
Right, she's undercover.
Right. Again, the backstory is maybe a little more complex than this movie needs it to be.
Yeah, just a little bit. But
well, yeah, it's like, I mean, because at times it's like there's subterfuge and there's counterfeit plates, but other times there's like just a ninja island anyone can show up to and astral projections.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I also like the part where so like when they're trying to figure out where Martin will be next, so they can get him. I think Haru finds out where his next appointment is going to be at in his date book that he just happened to find there. I was like, it's pretty convenient.
Yeah. And so that leads to a sequence where Haru goes undercover in a hibachi restaurant, and he's undercover as the hibachi chef, and he's trying to do all the tricks, and of course he flings a piece of shrimp down the front of a lady's dress.
Ha ha! Boobies! I love it.
Okay, this is the every few minute reminder. I saw this when I was 14 years old. Okay. It was made for me.
No, dude, we're not here to shame. I get it. Like, I still remember. Like,
we're not judging. When you are 14, shrimp going down the front of a lady's dress, that is the height of eroticism.
Oh. And comedy.
Those two merging together.
It's boing and boing.
Forming a lovely sex comedy sandwich.
Yeah. It's two great tastes that taste great together.
A Venn diagram that starts queefing.
Yeah, it's no lie. So then we have this big shootout scene, because I guess the rival gang is trying to take out Martin while he's there for what he did at the strip club, and then there's this big shootout. Of course, we see Gobey there undercover, dressed as a woman, taking out some people. And I will admit, I did get a big laugh out of the part where Haru's dressed as a chef, and he's fighting somebody, and he whips out these gigantic fish out of nowhere. And he starts flailing them about and slapping a guy with it.
He's using the giant fish as nunchucks, which it's a great visual. I wish they'd done like a little more like that. That was really cool.
Yeah, because those it's just funny. Like, he just kind of grabs these. You don't know what he's going to grab, but it's like in this little cart, and it turned out to be like literally two fish as big as him.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, all right, now we got a movie. But yeah, so then we had
to say that this movie exceeded expectations by not having Farley bite into the fish, hit somebody, and then bite into it again. So they didn't. He's fatty, and fatty falls down, but fatty don't eat all the time.
Right.
He doesn't. No. Yeah, they could have gone that way with it, but they didn't make a whole lot of appetite jokes that I can recall.
Well, they did that. They did do that one where earlier in the movie when he was training and they was putting his everybody was putting their fist over hot coals, and then
yes,
and
yeah,
and then we see Haru's hot coals, and he has like shish kebabs on them. I was like,
yeah.
oh, look at him, big man likes to eat.
I liked that visual though. That was all right.
Yeah, I mean that was like visual, so cartoony that I was like, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we have, while all that the huge fight goes down, Haru is able to escape with Allison.
Hmm.
They make their escape away from Martin, and then Haru takes her to his hotel room where she'll be safe. And of course, that's when things get sexy.
Yeah, yeah. We see the Haru's growing attraction to Sally / Allison, and it's like, oh, we should turn in for the night. Should we take the? Do you want to take the bed or the couch? And yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's not. I don't think there was too much to that scene, but yeah, we do see the silhouette of Nicolette Sheridan taking off her clothes. With, of course, 14-year-old boy yoing, as we earlier discussed, and then
quickly followed by the silhouette of Chris Farley taking off his clothes.
Yes,
Yeah,
boy.
this was a bad joke. This was literally just he's fat.
Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah, there wasn't really anything more to it than that.
No.
Like, he's fat. That's funny.
Fat naked man. That's funny. Fat.
Yeah.
He also has tits.
What's his cup size? So we wake up the next morning and we see Haru and Allison going to the ink specialist that Martin has been dealing with, and they want to interrogate him and for information to find out where Martin's going to be next. And we meet his ink specialist, played by Will Sasso, who I've always thought he was like really underrated. I've always enjoyed Will Sasso's stuff.
Yeah.
This is a huge moment.
He was uncredited for this too.
This is a big moment. This is two of the best late '90s fatties. This is a crossover, man. This is big because
this is Mad TV and
SNL. Yeah, and Sasso was really great on Mad TV. There's this birth control pilgrim sketch. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Where
I don't think so.
I've seen very little Mad TV, honestly.
Oh, some of it is great. The first few years, especially, Deborah Wilson is so fucking funny and talented. I mean, SNL, especially in the 90s, did not utilize the black woman the way that Mad TV did with Deborah Wilson, where she was in so many sketches and so funny in them. There's a lot of great stuff. Their tape pieces back then were great, but Sasso played this character. It was a commercial where he's just like a prospector, not a prospector, but like a pilgrim, and he's just yelling at in like 1690s speak, like about why sex is bad. And it's and the thing too, it's like, I'm 265 pounds myself, so when I say fatty, I'm also talking about myself. But like Sasso at this time was like 400. He was bigger than Farley.
Wow,
damn,
he was a big dude. There's a sketch with him and Bret Hart where Bret Hart has to like pick him up, and it is not easy for Bret Hart.
Bret Hart's like, oh, my back.
And he was great.
Yeah.
He did a Kenny Rogers impression at this time, which was literally just, I'm Kenny Rogers. Where he did that thing. Like,
I was like, I remember.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Well, no, I was gonna say, I remember Will Sasso did a really good James Gandolfini impression when they were doing Soprano sketches too.
Yeah, exactly. Great impressionist. It's still really funny guy. But yeah, it's just so I'm always that school of impressions of, and I know you guys are Jersey guys, but I go Hartman over Piscopo when it comes to Sinatra impressions. I'd rather the thing be funny than accurate.
How can you not go Hartman over Piscopo?
Yeah. No, we are Piscopo.
Yeah. No, we are diehard Phil Hartman fans over here. So we agree.
Yeah.
It's the most jarring thing in that Live from New York book that I think you were talking about earlier, John. when they're eulogizing Hartman, and then just in the middle of it, Piscopo's like, "But his impression was never approved by the estate like mine was," and it's like, yeah, but his was great. It was a caricature. It wasn't a character, and it's like this is what comedy is often, and so yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that is a weird, jarring quote where he's like, "Yeah, I still do personal appearances as Frank with the cooperation of the family," and I'm like, "Okay, well, that sounds like you're just doing like a Beatlemania thing."
Yeah, his biggest thing in the '80s was Frank Sinatra, and his biggest thing in the '90s was voicing Frank Sinatra in those Lipton iced tea commercials.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'd forgotten he did that.
Yeah,
That's brisk, baby. And there was a little claymation Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, it was like pre-Celebrity Deathmatch, I think.
Oh God, I want to look that up on YouTube right now.
Oh man, dude, let's do it. But yeah, I agree with you, Mike. Like, I thought Will Sasso should have been like a bigger star. Will Sasso, Deborah Wilson, and I'll throw Nicole Sullivan in there too. I thought they were like fantastic on Mad TV. Like, I was like, oh, they should have been like bigger, but I don't know.
Yeah, she was great. I'm a big Artie Lang fan.
Yeah, of course. He's
or what? You had Phil Lamar.
Phil Lamar, got to give Phil Lamar a shout out. I mean, I got to interview Phil Lamar like a year or two ago for a book I'm working on, and yeah, very nice guy.
Orlando Jones, like that
Peel started on that show.
David Herman, yeah, that cast was stacked.
Patton Oswalt wrote for it, and I think Blaine Capatch too.
Yeah,
Blaine Capatch still occasionally on Twitter is like, somebody bring back Mad TV so I can pitch this sketch.
Yeah,
yeah. I just think people kind of saw Mad TV as like the poor man's SNL, and it never got the props it deserved. But like, you can't deny the talent was there.
But it was also the poor man's SNL when SNL was running out of money. It's not like SNL was rich at the time.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
But also, they made more of a go of it than any other of those SNL rival shows. I mean, Mad TV, it ran for what, at least a decade, right?
Yeah, it lasted longer than Fridays. It was 14.
Most things did.
14 years in its original run.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, that's a respectable run.
Yeah.
Particularly when you're going up against SNL.
Yeah, like I remember...
Sasso was fun in this movie. Like, he's not in it for long. And then you get to see Farley being Sasso.
Right.
This is huge for 90s comedy nerds.
Yeah, because Farley, he gets the information from Sasso, but using this thing called the laughing mushroom. Mm-hmm. And basically drugging him, and also drugging himself and Nicolette Sheridan in the process. So they're all cracking up. Like, she brings up her dead sister at one point, and it's hilarious. So he takes Will Sasso's place, and he's got like a fake mustache and a wig happening, so he looks like Will Sasso's character. And he goes undercover at the bad guy's big headquarters.
Right, and then so it's all of them at the headquarters, and of course Gobet is still following. At one point, because Will Sasso character has like a mustache. And so Haru has to put on a fake mustache, and at one point his mustache comes off, and then like Gobet is able to like slingshot the mustache back onto his face before the bad guys notice.
He throws it like a ninja star.
Right. Yeah, because he's just that good of a ninja.
He's very good.
Yeah, and he is able to do it before the bad guys notice that Farley's mustache is missing. So.
Right, but then I think somehow though the Tanley is onto him, and he finds out that Haru it actually is Haru, and it's not Will Sasso's character, and I think but before he's able to take him out, I think that's when like Gobet helps him and saves him. Tanley makes another escape, but then the cops come, and that's where we see John and Kevin. And like as they're about to arrest Haru, Gobet throws a smoke bomb and switches places with Haru, so the cops arrest Gobet instead. And then Haru's just like left on the steps by himself.
So it's all down to Haru now.
Yes, absolutely.
It's all as we knew it would end. It would just be mano a mano.
Yes.
With
mono e fat mono.
Yes.
Mono a gordo. uh, all right, so yeah, so then after this, Haru goes back to the hotel. He brings Joey with him to,
Yeah.
I think well at this point Haru gets like his all his like equipment, his swords and ninja stars and whatnot. He brings Joey with him to help him find where the lair was because he didn't know where it was before because they blindfolded him. But
Uh-huh.
so he figures, oh, I'll have Joey drive me, and I'll sit in the back blindfolded, and because of my keen ninja senses, I'll know, where the headquarters are through, sound and whatnot.
I can reconstruct the route. Yeah,
Exactly.
the entire way.
And of course,
And
that ends up with them driving onto a racetrack, a horse racetrack, and through a car wash.
yes. And he does not realize that he is in a car wash. They're going through the car wash in the convertible, and he's like, "Oh, I'm being attacked by an octopus." And yeah,
Yeah, it's silly. It's silly.
it's silly, and he's not very bright.
So then what happens is, I think they drive back to where they started, and they try it again. But at this point, Gobei comes in and decapacitates Joey, and then Gobei just drives him straight to the headquarters.
Right. And Chris Farley is still blindfolded, so he thinks like, "Oh, my brilliant directions got us here."
Yeah.
He doesn't realize that Gobei has gotten them there successfully.
Very Inspector Gadget. I'm just saying, guys. I'm bringing it all comes back to Inspector Gadget for me.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then they get to the headquarters. He, of course, falls and stumbles his way in. I think he crashes through a window. He crashed through a lot of windows throughout this whole movie. It's a lot of.
Oh, the window budget was insane.
Yeah, I mean that had to be at least 8 of the 18 million.
Yeah, I mean, he's like the Kool-Aid Man throughout this whole thing.
Yeah,
oh,
just so many windows.
Oh yeah.
The other 10 million was the rights to kung fu fighting.
Yes, and to record that cover. So.
Fast as lightning. So then we find out that Allison is tied up, and of course there's a bomb in the room with her, and who's trying to save her. And then we see that Tanley has the drop on them, and as the henchmen surround them, that's when Gobei makes his presence known and helps Haru fight off all the bad guys. And I think at one point we see that like Gobei is being attacked, and he looks like he's going down for the count. But through Haru's love for his brother Gobei, that's when he finds the inner strength and becomes the great white ninja he was meant to be. And he's actually like a good fighter, and he actually is like competent in this one part.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess there was more of a payoff of the great white ninja thing than I was thinking. So
yeah, he saves the day. He saves the girl.
Yeah. You're right.
What did you want, Jonathan?
Well, what I wanted. I mean, I guess it didn't really make it clear that he was fulfilling a specific part of the prophecy. Like if it had been foretold, like and lo, he shall get this bomb away from Nicolette Sheridan and attach it to the bad guy's vehicle. Then he will be the great white ninja. Or, I don't know.
They didn't have bombs when the prophecies were written.
Okay, well, it should have been written more vague, like the Nostradamus things, where you can interpret it any sort of way.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of. I mean, I won't say that's kind of the end of the movie, but yeah, it kind of plays it like that. Like Haru's able to save the girl. The bad guy gets away, but they hook the bomb up to the truck he's escaping onto, and he blows up. And like everything is,
he uses like this big spear gun thing.
Yeah, that giant spear gun that came out of nowhere. I was like, right. And he's able to save the day. He goes back to Japan. He says he's going to go. He tells his sensei and all his family that he's going to go with his love, his girl, Allison, to live in Beverly Hills because Beverly Hills needs a ninja. So, yeah,
and they're hoping for a sequel. And
yeah,
it's going to be easier if he's already in Beverly Hills for the sequel.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, and that's pretty much the
Yep.
movie. Beverly Hills
Yep.
Ninja. It's got a lot of heart. This film got a lot of heart.
It
But I,
it is definitely a film that is definitely like still images projected in a very fast sequence that make it appear them to be moving. So I respect it for that.
it's high praise, John. High praise.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, as we said earlier up top, while it did make some money, it wasn't a huge hit. It wasn't the big breakout film that Chris Farley was hoping it would be. Actually, I think when it first came out, like Chris was really like bummed out about it. He was really disappointed with the movie and how it was
Yeah.
received. According to Bernie Brillstein, Chris Farley was so disappointed in it, he cried on his Brillstein's shoulder after the first screening, and then like I think Farley told his people he didn't want to be in a movie like this anymore, just because it really
Yeah.
he really did not like how it came out.
Yeah, that's not the reaction you want when you're watching your first solo starring role in a movie.
Yeah,
It's yeah, that's kind of a drag.
yeah. I mean, for what it's worth, like I do like I am a fan of Chris Farley, and I do enjoy his physical humor, but I think the thing is he needed more people to play off of. Because like
Yeah.
I mean, for him to like sort of being the only comedic force to kind of carry this entire film, with the exception of the few times we've had Chris Rock here and there, like I don't know if like the writing was maybe strong enough for the whole thing to be just on his shoulders. I think he needed like maybe a little bit more help in a few places.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it would have been a stronger movie if he had more strong people to play off of, because like he and Gobet are largely separated for most of the film, so they can't really play off each other because Gobet's just kind of tracking him in secret.
Right.
Um, I don't think Nicolette Sheridan has a whole lot of comedic chops, you know.
No, she's just like the girl.
She's just there, and Chris Rock, they don't really utilize him as much as they could. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, this film pretty much is like if you really find Chris Farley charming and love the pratfalls and physical humor, which I do. I think he's super charming. I think his he does have a big heart. His sweet childlike innocence and naivete I find very very sweet and charming. But if
mhm.
that's all you need for a film, you'll love it. If you feel like you might need a little bit more, it might not be your cup of tea. I'll say that.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, I would say I was so on the movie at best. So
Oh, so this is where I defend it.
if you feel the need, if you feel like we're doing the movie a disservice,
No, I mean, it definitely is nostalgia driven, but like it is very 1990s.
Mhm.
It is, what I think the thing with Farley is, I mean, because look, like Tommy Boy is a great movie. And yeah, I really can watch it anytime it's on. But then,
Mhm.
like even Black Sheep with the same co-stars was diminishing returns. It was not. I don't know anybody who says that that's better than Tommy Boy, and
Right.
and it's and the internet has weird opinions about everything, how government works. you
Yeah, the
know,
January 6th. Yeah, I've seen it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Who wins elections?
but I've never seen anybody be like Black Sheep's better than Tommy Boy. Like, and I think the thing with like Farley coming from the sketch world, like he was really great in these 5 minute increments.
Yeah.
In a Foley sketch, in a Farley show sketch, like as Giuliani's son,
Oh, that was
or
great.
as
Yeah.
El Nino. He has a lot of like great fun characters and stuff, and I really do think that he has more depth than people remember as a sketch performer. I think with movies, it is tough because like as someone who even loves this movie, like by the eighth time he falls, you're like, this isn't as funny anymore. And
Yeah, it does get repetitive in that
yeah,
regard. I think also just because like he the movie seems to want him to be at 11 all the time.
Yeah.
And it would be funnier if he was like, if he got to play other levels. And I think he was certainly capable of playing those other levels, you know?
Yeah, and like clearly there's things in this movie that, other things took from, he goes to hotel and pays for his stay in gold coins, and obviously the John Wick people saw that. And were inspired. I do think that this is a better Iron Fist story than the Iron Fist Netflix show.
Oh wow, that goes without saying.
Yeah, Farley over Finn Jones any fucking day. I think that like I think this is much better than Almost Heroes because I do think like. And they very much were, all right, let's put him back with a sarcastic guy that can make fun of him the whole time.
Right.
I really think that this movie would have been better if you had Gobet on screen and Chris Rock on screen, the three of them the whole time. I think that energy would have been really fun.
Yeah,
The idea that you have this legit, like, the best ninja from the Ninja Island, then the great white fat ninja, and then Joey who believes in him, and seeing all that together. But at the same time, I still think there's like some endearing things about it. I do think Robin Shaw really puts on a great performance here. I think he's really memorable. Like you walk away going, "Oh, who's that guy?" The sensei is great. Nicolette Sheridan, I think she's good for, I think it's all the script. They could have given her more. They could have given, the villains more, but they also were like, this is a Chris Farley movie. It's about Chris Farley, and it kind of lives or dies on that. Like if you don't like Chris Farley, you will hate this movie.
Yeah.
And if you really love Chris Farley, at worst, you'll wish he was used better, like you guys said.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I wish he'd gotten the chance to play more levels. And I know that that's something Farley wanted to. I think at the time he was, he passed, that he was actually developing a movie about Fatty Arbuckle.
With Mamet, right? It was with David Mamet, I think.
Was it with Mamet? Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was.
Wow, that boggles the mind to imagine what that would have been if that had come to pass. Yeah,
absolutely. And I also like you even mentioned, Mike, like how this movie, your love for this movie kind of comes from like a nostalgia for you too, because you have that connection to your father, and I get that too. Like there's a bunch of movies that I'll admit are kind of cheesy and kind of maybe not great, but because I saw them at a certain age, they hold a special place in my heart. Like one of my favorite movies is Berry Gordy's The Last Dragon, and I'll admit that movie's kind of cheesy, but damn it, every time I put that movie on, it puts a big old smile on my face. So I
love the movie. Don't you besmirch that movie. You have the power of the glow. Embrace it. And I'm sure that when you watched that Busta Rhymes video for the first time and you saw him as Shonuff in it, you felt like, oh man, someone loves the thing I love.
Yeah, I squealed like a little girl and just fanned myself. I was like, oh, they're doing it. He's doing it. And I love it.
I mean, that's the thing with pop culture, right? Like, and I don't know how it works for kids as much anymore, but it's like, there are great movies that I just didn't grow up with and I just don't have any connection to, and I can appreciate what they mean to somebody else, but they just don't mean that to me, but I have my own, and so It's like I didn't grow up with American Pie, but I saw House Party. My dad rented House Party, and it's like I love House Party. I love I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. I love Beverly Hills Ninja. Like these are the because we at least our generation and had that video store culture. And if we didn't just go to a Blockbuster, we went to whatever video store the weird clerk bought stuff for. And, I grew up watching that movie, The Ghoulies, about the little monsters that pop out of the toilet. And there's other people that haven't heard of it because their video store clerk wasn't a weirdo who wanted that movie in his store.
You had to make a special effort to get the Ghoulies in your video store.
And it's interesting, like, you realize all these shared experiences that you end up having as an adult that you had as a kid that you didn't even realize. Like, a movie I grew up watching that I loved was Troll 2. And it's a cult classic. Like, there's a movie about it called Best Worst Movie. But for us, we just had like Friday movie night, and my dad brought it home, and it was the dumbest thing, and we laughed at how dumb it was. But I didn't know anyone else who saw it growing up.
Yeah, it's very true. Like when you can find people that know that one movie that you kind of think you're the only one that knows about it, like that's a real bond. When you can find like people who kind of share that movie like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Another one of those was Fear of a Black Hat.
Yeah, and not a lot of people know about that one either.
Here's the thing: I've never seen Spinal Tap the whole way through.
Oh, really?
I know that Fear of a Black Hat came out after it, and it's like a rap version of Spinal Tap. But I saw that one first, and so and I grew up in the time of that movie, so it's just more funny to me. It's more relevant to me. It's also the same, like, I don't like CB4 as much because I grew up on Fear of a Black Hat.
Yeah, gotcha. Like, I feel the same way. Another movie that came out not too long ago, Black Dynamite. It's a movie that, like, not a lot of people know about, but I saw it I saw this movie in the theaters, like, I'm gonna say like 3 or 4 times. It came out in like 2009, and I fucking loved it. I think it's an amazing film, and like, I only know a few people that also know about Black Dynamite, but like those people I know who also know about it, we have that connection, we have that bond.
Oh yeah, I know about it, and I watch it. I'm like, oh, this is a better version of the Hebrew Hammer.
Yes, right.
I remember the Hebrew Hammer. Yes, Adam Goldberg, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, and wow. And on that note, the Hebrew Hammer. I guess that's our podcast, guys. Thanks.
There's one little bit of trivia I want to note. It's like the first item on the IMDb trivia page, and I have no idea if this is true. I look at this and I think this cannot be true. It says Christian Bale, when asked what his favorite movie was, named this movie, saying he watches it all the way through every time it's on television. Christian Bale?
That's awesome.
Is that? I would not have expected that.
But now, guys, you can see a lot of parallels between this and Batman Begins. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
yeah.
I think it's accurate.
If the Sensei had turned out to be the big villain at the end, like Ra's al Ghul at the end of Batman Begins.
I just love the idea of like Christian Bale, like in his trailer, like with like the blood-stained like Patrick Bateman outfit, and he's just, this is so good. Oh my god, what a bloody hilarious movie! Like, it'd be great if in that like tirade that he had on the Terminator set, if he brought this up, it's like, we are making a serious film like Beverly Hills Ninja. This Dugan would not allow this kind of buffoonery.
I mean, that would be incredible. I look at this big piece of trivia and I'm just like, is that Christian Bale just trolling a reporter?
I don't know, man. But look, man, you can see traces of the Martin Tanley character in his Shaft villain. You can. You can. Prove me wrong.
Right. Connect the dots, people. Connect the dots.
Yeah. No, I mean, you make a good case. You make a good case.
And wasn't he in? Was he in? What was the one? Was he in The Last Emperor? Or
yeah, he was in that as a kid.
Well, there you go. See all these connections.
It's right there. Okay, right there in front of your face.
You turned me around. Yeah, Christian Bale does unironically love.
Oh, I'm sorry, Empire of the Sun. That's it.
Empire of the Sun. That was
my bad.
Okay. Yeah. I was mixing those two up too.
Well, wow, Mike, Lauren, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for being on the podcast with us, dude. You were an amazing guest. Thank you so much.
This was great. This was so much fun, man.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. And Robin Shaw, you are appreciated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Giving you your flowers, Robin Chow.
And I have my own podcast, Wrestle Roast. We roast a different professional wrestler, and it airs every Friday wherever you get podcasts.
Oh.
Nice. Are you roasting them like face to face?
No,
Are they?
no, we
Okay,
won't
they're
live.
coming in as guests.
So no, we are not doing that. But I'm sure, like someone like Bret Hart, I'm sure is going to listen to it. Some of these guys Google themselves.
I could just imagine like somebody like I'm like Razor Ramon looking like what is this podcast about? What?
They talking about me, Mang?
Oh wow!
Come on.
I imagine you like flicking a toothpick at the microphone right now.
Yeah. Your name is Scott. You're not from Cuba. I'm sorry, Mang.
And so Mike, so where can the people find you on social media? Please plug away.
I'm at Mike Lawrence Comedy on Instagram.
Okay.
All
right. So they should follow you on Instagram at Mike Lawrence Comedy, and you can get all your Mike Lawrence comedy needs there.
Right. And if you want to follow us on Instagram or Twitter or however, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Darren Credible. That's DARI Incredible.
And I am on Twitter and Instagram at Trumbull Comic, TRUMBULL, and the word comic.
Right. And as always, please rate, review, subscribe. Leave 5 stars and join the Patreon. Give us some money, all that jazz.
Yeah. That's all good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a ticket.
So we're going to be back. We're not. Have we positively decided what we're doing yet next week, Darren? I can't even remember right now.
I think we did. I could say it now if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Well, I think we're going to talk about speaking of movies that deserved more shine, like we were talking about before. We're going to do Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping. They had the Lonely Island joint with Andy Samberg and Jorma Taccone and Akiva Schaffer. I'll show my hand a little bit right now. This movie deserved way more love than it got. I'm looking forward to this next episode. It's going to be a hoot and a half for me.
And also a breakout performance for Chris Redd.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever saw Chris Redd. Yeah, he knocked it out the park. Oh, I got to calm down. I got to save this all for the next episode.
Yeah, this is an old favorite of yours. I have never seen it before. I'm going to be coming to it fresh. So we're gonna get into it next week.
Nice.
So that's going to be fun. So please check us out next Monday for that. But until then, nerds out!
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.